Okay, this is Annabelle, who was rescued through one of our favorite rescues here in Omaha, Little White Dog Rescue. And she is from a puppy mill. She has very, very little self-esteem and confidence. And so in this video, I'm going to go over a number of little tips and exercises and tricks that you can use to help build a confidence in an insecure or a fearful dog. Now, one of the first things I mentioned to the guardian when I came in for the session is she was nervous, the dog was, and the guardian reached over and petted her. And she was trying to console her, which is a very common thing that a lot of people do with their dogs. However, anything your dog is doing when you pet it is what you're specifically amplifying or rewarding. So if your dog is insecure and you pet it, you're going to make it more insecure. If it's fearful, more fearful, aggressive, anxious, excited, there's a lot of unbalanced states of mind. It can mean the action as well as the state of mind that the dog's being rewarded for. So basically, I told the guardian that if the dog is nervous, I want her to lay her hand on it. So if you want to lay your hand on her back, and so you can lay your hand on a dog anywhere you want, but if you start petting, you'll amplify it. So if your dog is shuddering and scared, you can just lay your hand on their shoulder or wherever it is. Now I want you to kind of take your fingertip and do a small, like a dollar coin size circle on her chest, if you can. Now she's probably smelling all the treats that we've been giving her. There you go. So now the guardian right there, we'll talk about that too. A lot of people don't know how to read dog body language. So you saw the guardian go ahead and reach for her chest again. There you go. And do a circle, a bigger circle, and a full circle. There you go. That can be a very calming way to pet a dog. There's a book called The T-Touch. It's called The Tellington Touch. There's a person who came up with this book on how to pet dogs in ways that actually can be soothing for them. This is one of the things that's in the book. Petting a dog in slow circles on its chest can be calming and soothing for it. But what I was starting to go to before that is you notice every time she would reach for Annabelle, Annabelle pulled back or turned her head to the side. That's the dog's way of saying, I don't want you to touch me. So I'd like you and your roommates and your friends, anybody that comes by that interacts with Annabelle, every time they reach for, I want you to reach 90% and stop the last with 10% left to go. Let her initiate the contact. Now I did this a little bit and she even moved forward with her nose towards me, and then when I start reaching again, she moved away. So sometimes people get frustrated, they take it personal. It's not personal. The dog probably has just spent so much time avoiding humans because they didn't have great human experiences in the puppy mill that has become the behavior pattern. And it's going to take the dog practice to get out of that. So you see now, so the guardian listened to her. She reached for her, she started moving away, so the guardian stopped. She did that 2 or 3 times, so eventually she's able to do that, and now Annabelle is comfortable, and we're giving her this petting. So you can use kind of your thumb, your finger, however you want. I usually kind of do it more like this. But whatever is comfortable for you, and most importantly, whatever the dog feels comfortable with. Now, before experiences, or if you're going to have guests or people coming over, exercising her a little bit ahead of time can be helpful. She's not wild about walks. She's only really sniffs around in the backyard. This is really a dog psychology session. We're going to come back and work with her again in a couple weeks on a weekend so we can actually help her with some more stuff. But for right now, I just want to cover some basics things that we can start building up her confidence. One of the other things I talked about is what I call passive training. And we're going to wait for her. That actually in dog can mean please. Raising the paw like that literally can mean please. Now she's, I think, asking for more attention there. Normally I would recommend you do something called petting with a purpose, but she really doesn't know any commands. So when she lays down, the guardian is going to go ahead and retract your hand and just wait for her to lay. When she does, then you'll pet her like we were doing before. Passive training is a really easy way to train a dog, and all it takes is observance and good timing. So dogs, often we do things out of context. So the guardian's going to do this as soon as she does this. We're going to wait for her. Now that you could pet her at that point or click and call that ask if you wanted to. We'll talk about the clicker here in a minute. But passive training is basically just waiting for the dog to organically do something that you want on their own without any influence from us. And when it does, then we're going to reward it within 3 seconds and say the command word. So right there, when she did that, the guardian could say, ask and pet her. She's not doing it here because we'd like to get her to lay down. But Annabelle really only knows about 2 commands: go outside and go potty. And that's all she knows. And it's hard for her to have much confidence or self-esteem if she doesn't know anything. So I want to start building up a vocabulary of command words and teaching her new tricks and commands. But she's so fearful that it's really hard to teach her in a traditional sense. Passive training, I think, is going to be the best thing for her. So every time she lays down, within 3 seconds of her laying down, I want the guardian to pet her and say the word crash. Right there.
Crash.
Now, if you notice, she petted under the chin. Now, the dog started to back away, but this is the guardian that she loves the most and she's most comfortable for. And even with her, she moves away. Other people, she's probably going to do it more. So when a dog feels good about itself, its nose is parallel to the ground or tilted upward. So basically, petting a dog under the chin is a nice way to boost a dog's self-esteem or confidence. All right, now I was starting to show the guardian a touch exercise, and that's what we're going to do now. So what I'm going to do is have you transition all the treats into your, there you go, get comfortable, into your, you have them all in your right hand. So normally we flash this on a karate chop on the right or left side of the dog's face, but that's too much for Annabelle. So she's going to lower her hand right in front of Annabelle, and if Annabelle touches it, I'm clicking off camera for her. Now, if you're going to use a clicker, and you're just keep on repeating that, the clicker is to indicate the exact second the dog did something.
Touch.
It's very precise. So we were doing this, and Annabelle did it a couple times, then she just started leaning towards the hand, but wasn't touching.
Touch.
So we are using the clicker to indicate the touch is what we wanted. The touch is the click is to indicate the exact second the dog did what we wanted. So there we go. So the dog didn't do it. I'm a dog behaviorist. So unfortunately, most of the trainers in Omaha use force and punishment. So they have really 3 things: A, B, and C. A is the reward, B is nothing, and C is the punishment. Well, what I do is create a scenario where the dog can do multiple things. One of them is what I want. Go ahead and do it again. If she does what I want, she gets a reward.
Touch.
And I click when she actually touches with her nose to the skin. That's when I touch to say that's what I wanted. And then the guardian's going to get her the treat as soon as possible. And she's going to say the command word after the treat goes in her mouth. Always should say the word after, not just a fearful dog, any dog. Anytime you give a treat, you treat first and then say the command word after. Let's try it again. So she pulls away. So again, this is an example. Do what I want, you get a reward. Do anything else, nothing happens. And I would go back to going all the way to the ground this time. Now, Annabelle doesn't know this. This is a form of operant conditioning, which is one of the ways that dogs learn. So compliance with what we want gets her a reward. Anything else gets nothing. And we click to indicate, to make it very clear what it actually is that we want. So let's go ahead and try again. Closer, but no. So if she doesn't do it within a second or two, we retract our hand and then try again. And try again. Oh, that was so close. And you're so tempted to want to give it. You're like 99% of the way. You have to help them get there because we're not asking a lot. Now, she's doing a great job looking for eye contact, which is great. But we would like to have the actual touching the nose. We want her to be more interactive with humans. And we're going to start with the easiest human that she has, which is you. Let's go ahead and try one more time. Okay. So dogs have a certain threshold. And so she just said she was able to do 2 or 3 or 4. And we often get frustrated when the dog doesn't do what we want. That's okay. 2 or 3 or 4 next time will turn into 5 or 6 or 7, and so on and so forth. But that clicker is really going to help indicate what it is that the dog wanted you to do. So I'm going to do something else. I mean, this is going to be, normally I would do this on the floor, but Annabelle won't get on the floor. So this is going to be a very abridged version of it. Normally, I'll just describe what we want first, and then I'll have you do a version of it there. It's almost going to be like you're throwing craps. So what you want to do, and go ahead and passively train her. So if she does lay down, and you don't have to give her a treat, just reach under and pet her under her chin if she does. So basically what it is this is a great exercise. It's an attention exercise. What I'm going to do, and normally I would have the guardian to have a clicker like this. And I'll see if I have one. I can leave one with you. If not, go to Petco or PetSmart. They're pretty easy to get. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have the guardian toss a treat right about here. That's going to cause Annabelle to come over here and get the treat. What we're going to do at that point is wait for Annabelle to look at the guardian's face. And we don't show anybody's faces here. This is why you're not seeing it, the guardian's face. But as soon as she looks at the guardian's face, I'm going to click to indicate that's what I wanted. Then the guardian is going to give her a treat. Now, I like to call this eyes or look or attention. I like, again, funny command words. Ready?
Crash.
There you go. So do you have a preference for any of those eyes, look, attention?
Eyes is good.
Okay. So you're going to throw the treat over here. When she's going to go, and let me finish describing, and then you'll do it. So you're going to throw it. She's going to get up and go get it. And then she's going to kind of sniff around, probably. And then she's going to turn and look up at you. When she looks at you, I'm going to click. And then you're going to give her the treat. And you're going to say,
Eyes.
there you go. Go ahead. Pretend throw again. Go ahead and throw another one. There you go.
Eyes.
And now give her the treat and say eyes.
Oh.
Eyes.
Eyes.
So remember, always say the treat after it goes in the mouth. All right, so while she's looking, throw the treat again.
Eyes.
Perfect. Now we're doing this with you. We'd like to do this with other people. Normally I would throw the treat on the floor over there. The dog would walk a couple steps away, get it, and then sniff around. And then when it looks back at me, then I would click, and then I would give it the treat and say the word eyes. Eventually it'll get there, but right now she's just so insecure. We want her to feel confident, and this is a confident place for her. So there you go.
Eyes.
There you go. Try to say eyes a little bit faster. We want to say it just a hair after it goes in the dog's mouth.
Okay.
All right, let's do that a couple more times.
Eyes.
Now, she doesn't have a problem looking at you, but looking at other people, if she looks at you, that can be equated a kiss. If she looks at other people, that could be, or they look at her directly, that's a challenge. And she does get fairly good eye contact, but we want to get her to start doing these interactive sort of things. So I think for her, looking at a human that she doesn't, that's not you or your roommates, is going to be the easiest thing for her to do. And so it's really just promoting eye contact. So I'm trying to, the touch exercise is another one we like doing that I showed you earlier. Good job. I should have clicked for that one. And you don't always have to click. The click makes it a little bit easier, especially things like this where it's difficult. She didn't know why. So as soon as your nose touched you, that's when I was clicking. Let's do a couple more touches.
Touch.
Now, once you throw your hand, I normally throw the hand on the either side of the dog, but and eventually it gets to the point where I put it on the right side or left side. And when I do it, I usually chop kind of, there we go. I kind of chop and keep my hand at an angle. If I keep it like this and I put the treat on, it's going to fall right off. So I keep it at an angle. It can kind of wedge it in there.
Touch.
There you go. Now, eventually, you should be able to just flash your hand off to the side, and she turns her head and touches it to the side. Go ahead and try. And so we're just going to make the criteria easy right now. So just flat down.
Touch.
So it seems really, really easy. It's hard for her. But the more you practice, the faster at it and the better at it she's going to get. Was that a touch? Okay. And so I'm going to have you be the clicker. Normally I'm trying to film this and do this. So, but you would know I couldn't tell. So let's do one more time. So if she doesn't do it, we pull back. One more time. There we go. So again, the options are do it our way and get a reward. Do anything else and nothing happens. And and that's close. Oh, so close, but no cigar. All right. So basically these are, what I'd like you to do is focus on these things. So now we're rewarding. And like she just yawned right there. Even though it sounds really weird, you can teach your dog to yawn on command by just petting her every time she yawns. Yawning is also something that a lot of dogs do when they're stressed. So if you see her licking her lips or yawning a lot. Now, yawning could also be a calming signal. And I talked to the guardian, like laying down is crash. We might call putting her chin down as like thinking or contemplation or whatever, some word that's going to be funny. So the more that you passively train, so every time she takes a drink of water, say agua or water or cocktail, whatever the word is you want to use for that. Every time she goes onto the dog bed, name the dog bed, say the name of the dog bed. And the instant she steps on it, click, and then give her a treat and say Jamaica or whatever the name of the dog bed is. So I want you to make a list of all the things that she does that you could label and then come up with a funny word for them. And you and your roommates just be very diligent. Every time she does one of those, if you have a clicker, click and then give her a treat and say it. If you don't have the clicker, just every time she goes to her dog bed, call it Jamaica and then pet her. And if she tries to move away when they come, just say the word Jamaica, and that's all that's really required. So after a while, you're going to notice that she's going to touch you faster and quicker. Once that's the case, then I want you to start going on the side of her head instead of underneath it. So you're going to have kind of diagonal, and then you're going to further and further and further away. And at first, the progression is at first touch, then turn, because she's going to the side, then lean towards it. So you're making it a little bit further away from her each time. Then lean, then step, then steps. Dogs that really know this, you can flash your hand like this from 10 feet away. The dog will run over and stick its nose to your hand. Now, she likes touching you when you were petting her and she was touching your thigh. Normally, that's something I would recommend we don't want the dog to do, because we want the dogs more to ask than to tell. But for her, we'll take it. So when she does that, maybe you come up with a word that means, hey, mister, or something like that. Again, something that's funny when she taps you. So she taps you, click, and give her the treat and say that command word. Or if you don't have a clicker with you, every time she touches you, pet her and say, touch or grope, or whatever the word is that you want to use. That's kind of a funny word that means she's initiating contact with you. Then if you're sitting on the couch and you want to play with her or pet her, you say, touch or contact or whatever, but make sure each word is unique. So let's say the word is request. Every time she touches with and again, I would come with something funny. So then she does that on her own enough, and after a while she knows what it is. Then when you're here and we want to play with her, you say request. And then she reaches over and touches your thigh. Then you would pet her and start engaging with her. So this way you're saying, if you want to engage with me, it's super easy. You just have to do one of these things that you know how to do. And every time you do it, that's a great way to get my attention. That make sense? Mm-hmm. All right. Well, this cutie is Annabelle. And these are some tips and tricks you can use if you have a dog that's fearful and anxious about different experiences.